speaker, and it is my honor to introduce him tonight. He was raised by his grandmother in Nebraska, and he is a part of the Omaha tribe. He graduated from Lawrence High School in Lawrence, Kansas, and from Washburn University with his bachelor's in Topeka, Kansas. And then he received his master's in administration from Washburn University. He received his PhD from Kansas State University in Manhattan, Kansas, and his PhD is in education with emphasis on curriculum and instruction and evaluation. Every year he gives back to his community by awarding a scholarship to a graduating high school student to pursue higher education or vocational education. And through this, for his academic achievement and giving back to the Lawrence community, he will be inducted into the Hall of Fame at Lawrence High School this fall. And then in his 40 years of professional education, he's been a teacher, principal, College of Dean, and vice president of a university. For the past 11 years, he has resided in Ignacio, Colorado, and currently lives there. He lives with his wife, Ann, whom he met in college. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Russell L. Blackburn.
Thank you very much for the introduction. And I want to say, yes, I have spoken to graduates back home on my reservation, the Omaha reservation in Nebraska. And I was an administrator at Haskell Indian Nations University, where I also addressed the graduates each year that I was there. And like she said, I met my wife in college. She was attending Haskell Indian Nations University, and I was at Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas. I'd always go over to Haskell because it was all Native students, and I felt comfortable. This was in the 60s, and at the university I went to school at, there were 15,000 students. Only 3 of us were Native. And so that's why I went to Haskell, and that's when I met my wife. I met her there, and we graduated at the same year. It was really hard, my senior year, because we fell in love. And she was from Ignacio, and I never put it together. My father was an educator, and he was a teacher at the Indian school at Ignacio in the early 50s. However, I didn't live with my parents at that time as a young boy. My grandma, my Omaha grandma, raised me. And today, I even didn't want to go to college. I wanted to be an artist. And my dad was a guidance counselor, and he kept saying, no, you go to college. And I said, I don't want to. I want to be an artist, and I want to move to Taos and become an artist. And if I don't do that, I want to go to religious school because I wanted to be a priest. I'm very spiritual in my beliefs. But my grandma, who raised me, and my dad encouraged me not to do that. They were afraid I would not follow my Omaha ways, because my grandparents and my dad taught me how to live Omaha, how to think Omaha. And today, as I was sitting over there, I was real proud that you had elders speak in a Ute language to God, because that's what my grandma said. I'm not bilingual in my language. I don't speak my language. I'm not fluent. But I know how to talk to God in Omaha. And she said, do that because God gave us these languages to our native people. And when you use that language, when you talk to him, he hears every single word. He understands you. He understands your heart. So even though you're graduating and you're at a pivotal moment in your life, you're going to decide what you want to do in your life. And one of the most important things to me as an educator, never forget who you come from. Hold on to your culture. Hold on to your language. Participate in your ceremonies, whether they're religious or social. That is what I was taught, and that's what I try to teach my children, to do that as well. And my grandma always said she was bilingual. She spoke our language all the time, but never to me as I was growing up. And as I became an adult, I asked her, I said, how come you didn't teach me to talk umaha all the time? I just know phrases, or sometimes I know what they're talking about, but I can't speak it. And she said, because one day you might live and work among white people. And if that happens, you need to think like them, you need to talk like them, you need to live like them. But more important, be umaha. Know who you are. And so I say that to you all who are graduating as well. And one of the most important things for our young people to know, and this was told to me by my grandma, she said, a lot of people in this world don't look upon us as intelligent people. They don't look upon us as good people. Don't be that way. You go out, do your best, try hard at whatever you do, whether it's at school or at home or in your community. Let those people know that you are just as good, just as intelligent, and you have high morals and behavior like they do. And I always remember one of my college professors when I was working on my doctorate. I was really shocked to hear him say this, because I took a lot of courses in human development, studying human behavior. And what stuck with me, he was talking about the behaviors lower class white people have. He said, my people, he was white, he said, my people use filthy language called profanity. My people like to fight physically, making them look like they're tough. He said, white people think they're better than everybody else at that level. And he said, and research proves that. So I always told my Native students at Haskell Indian Nations University, don't go out fighting. We'll meet challenges in life. You will meet challenges in life, and it's called discrimination. And the hardest thing to do is to ignore it, to not say anything, not to fight back. And I faced all of those. All through high school, I went to the largest high school in the state of Kansas. There were 635 seniors that I graduated with. Then I went to a university. They were mostly all white. I faced that discrimination. I was made fun of. Hateful things were said to me behind my back, and I ignored it. Hardest thing to do. Because if you respond and you act, and by fighting or using that profanity, you lower yourself to their level, and you're letting them control you, because they control your words, they control your behavior. So ignore them. The hardest thing to do in life, I know that. I experienced that. The other thing my grandma said was, you're educated. You know the white man's education. And you should know they have words that our Native people never use. They don't have profanity. They don't use those nasty words. And she was right. As an elder now, I think back, I never heard my aunties and my uncles, my parents, my grandmas and grandpas. I never heard once them use that kind of language. They modeled that for me. The only time I would hear Native people use that language would be when they were with white people. Don't be white if that's what you want to do. Don't use that language. And I said that to my students at Haskell Indian Nations University. Be true to who you are. God gave us, made us Native. He knows that. Do what we do as Native people. Be good to people. Be supportive of people. Help one another. Growing up, I can remember now when I lived with my grandma and grandpa, we go to doings, we go to dances, go to religious ceremonies. Everybody was good to one another. Everybody talked good to each other. They did gossip, another behavior poor white people do. They tear people apart. They gossip. They can't support one another. They're jealous. And sometimes that happens among our Indian people. And I always think back what my grandma told me. She said, don't do those behaviors that you told me about, what the professor said, how his lower class white people act. And he even said this, and this just took me by surprise, because he was a white professor. He said, that is what we call among my people who do those things, who fight, who talk filthy, who treat others with no good. He said, we call those people white trash. And so when I told my students, you're making yourself look like white trash, that is what my educated professor told me. And that stuck in my mind forever. And my children went to a high school where there was mostly white people, white students, the same high school I went to. And I know that was around them. And one evening, I was talking to my children, and I started to use profanity. And they just took them by surprise. My son started laughing. He said, Dad, that isn't even you. He said, you don't even sound like it. You don't even sound right. I said, well, what do you mean sound right? He said, because when they talk like that, they have a kind of a tone in their voice that's almost hateful. And you're not hateful. So I tell my students, be a good person. Don't use those words. Our Native people, our elders, never use those words. And if some of you can think about your elders way back then when you were able to know them, it was probably the same way. They didn't talk that way. One of the things that really makes me proud of you tonight is that every person here that came because you're graduating, because you're recognized, they love you. If they didn't love you, they wouldn't be here. They're proud of you. If they weren't proud of you, they wouldn't be here. So those of you that are graduating, know that from your heart, you are loved. And I want you to know, as a Native person from a different tribe, from another part of this country, you make me proud. Because anytime I run into children or young people that are educated and trying their best to make our Native people look good, brings a lot of pride in me. Makes me proud that I'm Native. And I'd like for you to do that too. When you leave this room, your behavior, your words will make us proud. If you're good to people, if you talk appropriately, and you follow your Native ways. And I miss my home in Nebraska because I was really exposed to my culture Every weekend back home, there's something going on. Whether it's a Native American church meeting, whether it's a tribal Ilushka war dance, whether it's a war dance, whether it's hand game, social hand game, whether it's just a feast. Something going on every weekend back home. And when we come here, I enjoy coming to Toyak when something's going on, because I can see that happening here. So you young people who are graduating, you have that opportunity to participate in your culture. It will help you never to give it up. And I remember one other thing I tell my students. When I was working on my doctorate, the hardest courses I ever took were mathematical research statistics. It was hard, and I'm not a math person. And I told my dad was still living, I said, Dad, I think I'm gonna quit. He said, why? I said, it's the hardest math course. I don't understand. And he said, you go in and you ask the professor and tell them you don't understand. You want help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help from your teachers or from your bosses, because that lets them know you want to succeed. And my dad was right. That professor sat me down and he said, you come in every week so I can double check you are understanding. And I was able to pass those courses with a B. The only B's I received in my doctorate program, but I passed them. And I wear this war bonnet because of my dad. 20 years ago, this past spring, I went home to see my dad. My dad was well educated. He was a spiritual leader for our people, and he was also tribal chairman for 2 terms for my people. And I went up as much as I could. I live about 5 or 6 hours away from my home. We live in Kansas. I'd go up to visit with him because I know I would hear something or learn something from him, because he was very much into our culture. And one time he said, I was getting ready to go home, drive back to Kansas, and he said, I have something for you, Shungiska. That's my name, Shungiska. And Umaha means white horse. One of my chiefs his name was White Horse. When I grew up, most of the old people knew my name, Shungiska. And today, all those people are gone. I have one aunt left. She's the only one that still calls me Shungiska. But he put this, he said, I've got something for you. And he went to his bedroom and he came back. He and my Umaha mother, she had a Pendleton, a beautiful Pendleton, red and blue. She put it on me. My dad brought this war bonnet out and he put it on me. He said, I want you to have these things. We want you to have these things because not only are you a veteran, but you achieved the highest level of education in your profession. You are a doctor. He said, you've made our people proud. We love you for what you've done. And all these people here are with you tonight. Maybe some weren't able to come, but they love you. And you've done something by graduating to make them proud. I know how that feels. And I want to thank that gentleman that talked about his son. I know what it is to lose a son. And I'm very religious. I wake up every morning between 3 and 4 o'clock, because it's the way I was taught. That's when you talk to God. This morning I got up, said my prayer, and I asked God, I said, let Grandma and Grandpa, let my mom and dad, let my son come to me this evening. Stand by me. Make me strong. Help me to say the right things. Give them good advice to how to live a good life. And I did that this morning. It's what I talked to when I talked to God. And so I believe that real strong. And I wear this war bonnet this evening to honor my dad. And he said, you wear this at special occasions, even if you're not among our people. And this is a very special occasion. I feel real honored to have been able to come here and share my thoughts with you and your young people that are graduating. Never be a quitter. That's what my dad said when I told him I was going to quit my doctorate program because the courses were hard. He said, don't be a quitter. Quitting is the easiest thing to do. And you'll always be a quitter if you do that. He said, you keep trying. You keep moving forward. And remember, I said I didn't want to go to college, but he encouraged me. And I kept moving. And I didn't even want to be a teacher. And my dad encouraged me, try it. You're always good with kids. I said, just try it. And I ended up liking it. And then to maintain my teaching certificate, I had to go to college again to get more hours to keep my teaching certificate. So I decided to work on a master's degree. And I got a master's degree in administration so I could be a principal. I didn't even want to be a principal. And I had a principal that I was teaching for, and she kept saying, you have it. You have leadership skills. You go on, be a principal. And she started recommending me, and I was chosen to be a principal at a junior high. And even as an educator, a professional, I faced discrimination. I had a school of around 1,000 students, mostly white. There were some Hispanic, some Native, some Black. It was mostly white. And there were white people who I knew had hard feelings against ethnic minorities. I could tell you as a principal, I was called every filthy name you could think of. But I didn't react. I told you, don't react to that. I was called a lot of filthy names by parents. And what I would do is I would put my hands in my pockets. Little did they know my hands were in fists, because I wanted to deck them. But I had them in my hand, in my pockets, and I said, in the softest voice I could give, I said, boy, you're really angry. We need to talk. And that just took them by surprise. Because they thought I was going to argue back with them. They thought I was going to get mad. And one of my students, later on years, as an adult, he came up to me and said, you know, Dr. Blackbird, I never saw you get mad. I never heard you raise your voice in anger to students. But I heard students talking disrespectful to you. And I said, well, you know, parents did that too. But I held my ground. I didn't react to their negative attitude. So when you go out there, whether you continue in college or school, or you go to the workforce, do your best. Show them our Native people are smart, good individuals. And they will know that. They will recognize that. That's called reputation. Have a good reputation, but don't forget where you come from. Be active, and you'll get that respect. That's what my grandma said. She said, you're well educated among white people. When you come home and you participate with us, Let them see you in our religious ceremonies. Let them see you walk into that teepee to pray. Let them see you dance. Let them hear you talk and pray at our gatherings. And I did that. And sure enough, as old as I am now, different ones show their respect to me. And it's all because of my grandma. All because of my elders. And you have elders here who love you. And they're here to support you. I think I've said enough tonight. My daughter kept saying, yeah, don't talk forever. So there's more I could go on and on and on. And I so much appreciated coming today to be here. I look forward to this day. So I thank the committee, and I thank the you people and all of you that are here giving me this opportunity. I want to say one more thing. Wakanda, Luga, Wadaiga, all these students. We look the Tegaho Shum. I ask God to bless each and every one of you. And thank you. For this is the way it is from this point on. That is what I said. Thank you very much.
This time we'd like to recognize him and give him a Pendleton for his wise words, his experience that he's had as an educator, and just give him that opportunity to keep going. Education is the future, as he's done himself, and what is handed down from his grandparents, and the teachings, and talking to God that early in the morning. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of the Mountain Tribe. Go ahead.